up, guys? So, two in one day. Let's make it happen. So, the only reason this is happening is because, sorry, my hair is doing something weird. Sorry, the sun is also pretty freaking bright. So, the load that I'm at right now, the shipper that I'm at, should have been picked up at 11 p.m. last night. But the receiver last night was a live unload, and I was there 4 hours early, and I was there a total of 6 hours. They were really, really backed up. The backing situation, their dock faced the road. Like I said, you're going to come across some really weird shit. And it was only a 2-lane road, and you pull in, and as soon as I pulled in, I was like, how the fuck am I going to get my truck, first of all, turned around to even go to the two docks that it had? And the guy was like, oh, you're going to have to back out into the street. It was a whole thing. So they kind of gave me a heads up in my plan before I got there, but it's still, Swift will give you as much information as possible. Like, it'll tell you, go to the second entrance on whatever, or you're going to get stuck. And for this one, it said, space is really tight, observe before entering. Well, I had to get off the road. I can't stop traffic. And so, luckily, it was far along enough to where, I'm pretty confident in my backing skills, and we made it happen. Traffic was still pissed off because you have to hold them up to back in, but shit happens. So, moral of the story is, because I got stuck there, I only had an hour and 17 minutes when he came to bring me the paperwork left on my clock, which would have given me plenty of time to get to the shipper that I'm at now, but this is a live load. So I would have got here and had to spend the night. And some shippers will let you do that, but this isn't one of them. The dog food business is very serious. So they rescheduled it, and I told them, look, my clock restarts at whatever time this morning, 6:47. I'll be rolling out. They said, no problem. We've contacted the shipper. No big deal. I get here, go in there. I'm an hour early. I'm like, let's go. It was like, ma'am, your appointment is for 10 o'clock. And I'm like, fuck my life. So 2 hours of my life are going to be wasted today just sitting here. But it is what it is. I always have time to waste. I know that sounds crazy. But they give you 14 hours a day to drive 11 hours. And when you're going long distance like this, over a 3-day period, that's, 9 hours essentially that I can fuck off with. And I am going from California to Texas. Nothing I need to stop and see. No people I need to stop and see. I'm not going near Houston, and I was just home for a week. So, this 2 hours sitting here, not the end of the world. Had this been a normal situation, I would be pissed. But I'm not. So, what I'm going to talk to y'all about today, because today is a prime example. Anything in California, really, any shipper in California is a prime example. Because I came across this issue when I first came to California. So, when Swift sends you your information about your loads, like before you even accept them, they send them to you, and in the bottom, after all of the numbers that you need, your bill of lading numbers, your pickup numbers, your purchase order numbers, all the info that you need about your trip, about your load, that is, at the very bottom of both your shipper and receiving destinations, they'll have a bunch of comments. And it's information that you need to know for where you're going. And like I said, sometimes they put stupid stuff in there, but for the most part, 95% of it, you really do need to know. And I noticed when I first started coming to California, like every other shipper, the comment said, must have load locks and ratchet straps. Like, you must. Hold on one second. I'm at 10, so he must be going to talk to this dude. So anyways, yeah, not me. Um, so I'm gonna give you a list of things that you should acquire and that you're going to need. This is not stuff you should just have on hand in case of. These are things I've been solo now 3 months. I could say I've honestly used all of them except like two or three. And a lot of this stuff I got from a video 50 did way back when. Um, and he gave a list of things, and there's some other stuff that I've come across that I have needed. And it's just really, really good to have because you don't ever want to. I mean, Swift already has a bad name, and no matter who you're driving for, you're representing the company, and you don't want to get there and be like, oh, it's got this kind of seal. Like, I don't know how to do this. Um, or, shit, my landing gear is stuck. What can I do? I'm not, like, super strong. Especially if you're a female, there's just going to be stuff that you're going to need assistance with. And that's just being true. I'm not trying to be gender shaming. That's just the reality of it. Men are stronger. So there's certain things. This sun is driving me crazy. There are certain things that you need to have, and it's just really, really good to have on your truck, just in case, but also that you're gonna need this shit. So, just trying to cover all of my bases because I feel like whenever I'm just myself and I just say stuff, people sometimes take me so literal, it becomes annoying with the comments. And I know I shouldn't read all the comments, but I do. So, large bolt cutters. This is going to sound really dumb, but you need them because a lot of shippers. Let me back up a little bit. So, I would say for me personally, it's been about 50-50. And they'll tell you in the comments, don't touch the seal. This shipper is crazy. Like, don't touch their shit. Some of them are like that. Lowe's is one of them. Don't touch their seals. They're Nazis about seals. You just don't do it. Some of them will be like, okay, go ahead and open it up. And you're like, do I touch the seal? Do I not touch the seal? So don't ever just assume that you can open up your trailer because a lot of times that's not the case. There's all different types of seals. In the beginning, I had to use my tire club to pry the seal off because I wasn't strong enough to just rip it with my hand. And Swift doesn't want you doing that anyways. But I have since learned how to just rip them off with my hands, and I make sure I'm wearing my gloves because I like my hands to stay smooth. But there are these certain type of seals that I had to give them to the guy yesterday, so I wish I had it, but I don't. They just they look like plugs, and they plug in there, and there's no way for you to take it off. The only way to take it off is bolt cutters. Prime example, yesterday, my trailer, for whatever reason, they put I have 3 door locks, and they put a seal in each single one. Normally there's only 1, sometimes 2. This one had 3. I don't have a lot of upper body strength, and when you've had bariatric surgery, you lose a lot of muscle mass as well, so I'm not nowhere near as strong as I used to be. So I had to get the bolt cutters. I press it against the trailer door and then use my body weight to push it. But had I not had the bolt cutters, I would have had to ask somebody, and that's how I learned. I got to a place, I just assumed that they were going to take all that shit off, and that wasn't the case. That was the first time. And so yeah, you're gonna learn by doing. So any mistakes you make out here, you'll only make them once, I promise. So I went, after that shift, parked at a truck stop, I bought some fucking bolt cutters. And so this list is just an accumulation of stuff that I just have needed, and either I had it or I didn't have it, and you don't feel, don't feel bad, don't feel like you have to go rush out and buy this shit right this second. But once you go solo, you really do kind of need this stuff. So after you get a couple of checks up under your belt, maybe you'll get lucky and you won't need this shit early on. But coming to California, you are definitely going to need load locks and ratchet straps. Load locks and ratchet straps, you are just gonna fucking need them. Um, because Love's usually has them 2 for whatever. You get a deal on them. You buy 2. When I bought my load locks, I bought 2, and then I bought 2 15-foot ratchet straps, and they were both 2 for whatevers, and it was like $96 in Swift. You just upload that receipt, anything that you buy for your truck. So, side note, real quick, Swift will pay you for your parking. If you have to pay for parking because parking at truck stops has gotten so crazy, 90% of the shit now is reserved because it makes them money. You upload it with your scale tickets and your BOL, your whatever paperwork you're, sending in for your trip. They do pay it. So parking is paid for. I do know that showers, if they've been sending you to Swift to get fuel a lot, and they can see it. I'm somebody that gets sent to Swift a lot. I'm at terminals almost every night. I just happen to be near them. They send me there to get fuel, and so I shower there. But in the event that I don't have points or something, and you need to pay for showers just for shits and giggles, I uploaded that stuff, and then of course I asked, and yes, they will pay for it. If you have been getting fuel at Swift, but you happen to have to stay at a truck stop or you're in an area at night at the end of your shift or whenever that may be, that's not near Swift, yes, they will pay for it. So anything that you buy for your truck, we're not talking food or, window cleaner, like for the inside, but stuff like if you buy your own washer fluid or your own coolant or anything like that for your truck, all of those receipts not only are tax deductible at the end of the year, but Swift, you upload them with your trip information and Swift pays you back for all of that stuff. So pay attention to what you're spending money on. A lot of this stuff you can swing by a terminal and go into the shop and they can actually give you most of this stuff. I got my glad hand seals. You're going to need those. Sometimes you're going to roll up to a trailer and it could be the only empty one in like 100 miles, but the seals are fucked up. You just replace them. Just replace them. These trailers, I've been stopped before at a terminal and they're like, oh, your trailer really needs to be worked on. Do you have time for me to fix it? It'll take like a few hours. No, I don't. I was really close. These trailers need way more maintenance than they're getting, so sometimes you need to do that. And it's always good to have them also for your connection as well. Bulbs and fuses. I keep all kinds of headlights and day lamps, all that stuff, and fuses. I get them from the shop. I keep them on hand. I have a brand new truck, so it's not like I need them, but I keep them anyway, just in case. What else do I get from there? Oh, the grease for my fifth wheel, I usually keep like 2 or 3 tubes of that. And I think that's all that I got from there. Oh, my fifth wheel release thingy. It's what do you call it? An extension. It's like an extension of my arm. It's just a little hook that I can pull under there. I got that from the shop as well because I'm too short. I can reach my fifth wheel arm release, but not without getting all the tires and everything all up in my armpits and all that jazz. So, all of those things you need, and you can, about 99.8% sure, you can get it from a terminal. So, gloves. I carry 3 or 4 pairs of gloves. I have different gloves for different things. If you're going to be working at Lowe's, which you never know, but if you go with a Lowe's dedicated account, you damn sure need some backup gloves that are just for the Kingpin lock. So the Kingpin it's shitloads of grease all over it, like ugly black grease. I have shirts in here that are only for when I go to Lowe's, because they're covered in grease. I mean, it just fucking gets everywhere. There's no way to really minimize the mess that it is the Kingpin lock. So I have gloves that are just for, they're on the floor here. Let me see if I can show you. They're just for the Kingpin lock. They're gross. And I just cleaned these, actually. I got some of that Gojo stuff, and I put my gloves on and scrub it through my gloves to keep them as clean as possible. Those are only for Lowe's. Or if I'm going to be messing with the Kingpin lock, have some backup gloves, because then you start touching your truck and stuff. You don't want to do that. So just have those gloves, and they're clean right now, but normally they're in a plastic bag. Like, you just want to keep that shit separate. I have leather gloves for whenever I'm in the mountains. My gas cap gets, the pressure, it gets stuck. So then I have to use my rubber mallet that you're going to need as well. I have to knock it loose, and leather gloves make it easier for me to grip and get it. My everyday use gloves are these guys. Something that stays tight around your fingers, and even these are too big. I have really short, small hands. And truck stops only sell large and extra large. So these are large. So even the finger parts, they're too long, but they're not long enough. They're not so long that I can't use them. So you need something that, sometimes the leather ones, they're just really like, I call them Michael Myers gloves. they're just too big. They get in the way. So get some form-fitting, like mechanic or car, what I call race car gloves. So you'll figure out what you need that works for you. But definitely always have a backup pair of gloves for Kingpin locking. Anything to do with locking that Kingpin or touching the Kingpin, you're just going to get dirty. So large bolt cutters, gloves. You're going to fucking need lots of gloves. Rubber mallet. Another thing you use the mallet for is sometimes the landing gear gets stuck. The yard dog doesn't. The yard dog sometimes can apply too much pressure to the landing gear if it's not. Look, you just get stuck, and it has to do with the yard dog. I've had plenty of times where the yard dogs had to come and actually hold the trailer up for me so I could let more of the gear down, because the arm just gets stuck and you can't get it off. Sometimes if there's enough wiggle room, sledgehammer pops it out, you're good to go. Mallet. Your sledgehammer, you need a short-handled sledgehammer. The reason you need a sledgehammer is sometimes the tandem pins get stuck. So, it's only happened to me once, but 50 had this on his list, and I was like, I don't know what I would ever need a sledgehammer for. When it happened, I was happy that I had it. Glad hand seals, we've talked about those. Grease for your fifth wheel, we've talked about those. Bulbs and fuses. Headlamp. Headlamp sounds corny AF. Everybody's got cell phones these days. If you're pulled over on the side of the road at night, you want to have a headlamp, especially one that flashes with the red, because in the dark, especially in the mountains, you from far away just look like a headlight and a car driving in the wrong direction. It's very important, and sometimes when you're up underneath the truck or the tractor or the trailer, holding your cell phone limits your abilities of what you need to be able to do. So if you just have the light on your head, then you have both hands to do whatever it is that you need to be doing. Headlamps are really important. And we've already talked about load locks and ratchet straps. You need at least two of each. I've never seen them use more than one of the load locks, maybe 2 or 3 times. But just have 2 of each, because they break them also. When they break them, you got to replace them, and you just got to wait for that reimbursement. So, that is the list of shit that you need. You just need it. Oh, and a trip book. Um, you can use a notebook. You can, but I prefer to use. Swift actually has a trip book. Now, granted, it wants you to write everything on there, including your fucking blood type, practically. It just asks for way too much information. You don't need to be knowing all that. But it's something that I can flip back through, and it'll take me a lot longer to use that because it's really thick. You don't have to use the trip book. I actually used a small notebook. That's what I wrote my list down in. That's what I'm looking at. I used a small notebook and I just wrote the important information. Um, if you have the app, then of course you can always open the app and then you got to go to your thing. To me, the app is convenient for accepting loads, sending messages, updating your PTA, stuff like that. But when it comes to when you're at the shipper, you got to have your shit ready to go. If you're, and especially if you're in a place with a bad signal, you can't be like, oh, you got a Wi-Fi, or like, hold on 1 second, my phone's going slow. Like when you get to the shipping and receiving offices, you got to have your shit together. So the app isn't always the best option depending on where you are. A lot of these buildings, the one I'm looking at right now, it's concrete. A lot of these buildings are cement. You're not going to get a good signal in there. So trying to fucking pull up your shit on an app, it's just not conventional. So write it down, have it in some kind of order, and another thing that you would need. Let's see if I can reach it. Let's see, I'll climb with me. One of these guys. Should have put it on my list. I also have just a regular folder, one of those expendable ones. We have to keep our paperwork for so many days, at least 90 days. And you just want a place to keep, you don't want papers all over your truck. Try to be organized. Because they will come back and be like, oh, so-and-so, said that you ripped off their dock or whatever. That's never happened. I'm just making shit up. But they'll say, oh, something fell off of the trailer or whatever. You always need to be able to just have your paperwork. That's never happened to me, but that's why they tell me, whenever I ask them, why I got to keep the paperwork for so long if y'all have electronic copies of everything? We talk to whatever, y'all have electronic copies of everything. And they said, just in case they call and something happens. So, keep your paperwork, but keep it in order. Like, all of my loads are in order from the very first one. Very first load I ever took was to Laredo, and I still have that paperwork. Other than that, have a lot of pens. And, of course, whatever you're going to need to eat or drink. If you get an older truck, you may want to think about getting something to keep your shit cold, because it's a hot world out here, people. But, yeah, I just wanted to, since I have some time on my hands, talk about something, I think is informative. This is stuff that you really need. Other shit that I keep on hand, just because I'm a neat freak and I have OCD. Glass cleaning wipes. I keep them on both pockets of the door for my mirrors and my hood mirrors and these mirrors. They get dusty, especially if you're in a desert area. They get really funky, and you just can't fucking see. Okay, so just keep your mirrors clean. I keep my whole truck clean, but my mirrors, sometimes if I'm stopped, yesterday I cleaned my passenger one. For whatever reason, it was just really funky, and so I just went over there and I cleaned it. And also for my windshield, I just keep glass cleaning wipes. I also have glass cleaner, stuff to clean the floors, the inside of the truck, Armor Oil. I have wheel cleaner. Like, I have a bunch of fucking cleaners. A guy actually complimented me the other day. He came up and knocked on my window, and I was just sitting at the dock, getting loaded. And he was like, I gotta say, you're the first female I've ever seen with such a nice, clean ride. Like, my rims will blind you. And there's a sticker right here that says, you are responsible for the safe operation and cleanliness of this vehicle. I take pride in what I do, And I'm always, when I'm working, I'm always wearing Swift. And of course, I'm in a Swift trailer and tractor. So, we just don't want to roll out looking trashy and looking like, yes, we live in our trucks, but we don't want it to appear that we live in our trucks. So just keep your shit clean. Those are things that I have. Um, I hope this video was informative. Hope you took notes. And yeah, if you have any questions, just hit me up. I'm gonna go catch up on some Real Housewife stuff because I'm a Bravo junkie. Anything that comes on Bravo, I watch them all. Even if I don't like them, there's some of them that I don't like, but I still watch it because it's Bravo. Like, why not? So I will catch y'all next time. Peace out.